Welcome to week 32 of our preaching teaching series, Unpacking Red Gone White. This week's message is called Transforming Struggles into Stepping Stones. This is the first message in a 9-week conclusion to our 40-week journey of unpacking Red Gone White. This is Apostle David Anderson of Red Gone White Church, where transformation begins. Perhaps you are just discovering this series. If so, welcome. I hope it activates and energizes your walk with God. I'm sure you're wondering what is Red Gone White and why are we unpacking it. In 2014, I received these words and a multimedia impartation from God. As strange as this sounds, I tell the story of how this happened in our week 1 message and in a link below in the description portion about the story behind the name. In this final segment of this very long sermon series, we will focus on God's transforming power in our lives, and we will conclude with a series of messages addressing who we become as a result of struggle and opposition in our lives. These messages are going to be unusual, offbeat, but eye-opening. We will look very differently at the difficulties in our lives as a result. Let's get started. As we set up for this final portion of the series, allow me to reset what this series is about to begin with. It is called Unpacking Red Gone White. In 2014, I heard the audible voice of God speak only the words red gone white. In about 4 seconds, I received a massive download. It was multimedia and somewhat like a screen coming down, and I was flooded with scriptures and images and sound bites in a sense that I was filled and blessed. It was 4 years later that I was called to start Red Gone White Global Ministries. The following year, we founded Red Gone White Church. It has taken me nearly 8 years to get to the point where I can finally, confidently, and clearly share what was given to me in that very brief moment with God. Ultimately, it will take me 40 weeks worth of teaching to express what God gave me in only 4 seconds. I have learned that the Red Gone White message can be summed up with 3 words: transformation, hope, and power. With this in mind, we are ready to take on the last portion of teachings. When a life is yielded to God through acceptance of and submission to Jesus Christ, it will transform. It will become hopeful. It will become powerful. The world and Satan try to stifle our growth, steal our hope, and shrink our power and potential. Without God, we are no one, going nowhere, and up to no good. We are slaves to the lies programmed into us from birth. The world and all its systems and ways run completely counter to the systems and ways of God. The ways of the world are self-serving. The ways of God are selfless. God's truths were laid and established at the foundation of the earth itself, and they will continue to be true eternally, long after this earth is destroyed. Yet the earth and its leader, Satan, incessantly try to pull our eyes, our hearts, our intentions, and our focus away from God. This world is natural, but God is supernatural. This world is temporal, but God is eternal. We will spend 80 years on this earth if we are lucky and blessed, but we will spend over 1,000 millennia either in glorious heaven with Jesus or gruesome hell with Satan. Let's go to scriptures for a moment. John 6:33 says, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. This is Jesus talking to his disciples just before he was to be taken away to be beaten and crucified and then raise himself back to life 3 days later. Job puts it this way in chapter 5, verse 7. Man was born for trouble as surely as sparks fly upward. And the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 11, speaks to how everything transforms and becomes beautiful in its time, and also how we are wired to seek after and to pursue God. It says, He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart, yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. No matter what our struggle is, 1. It is natural, but God is supernatural. 2. It is temporary, but God is eternal. 3. It is because of a lie, but God is true. 4. It looks great, but God is greater. 5. God is aware of it, even allowing it, and is not done with it yet. Even when we are through our struggle and able to look back on it, we will still have no idea what God did in, through, and because of it in our lives. Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that all things work together for good." Most people stop right there when quoting this passage. It is to suggest, don't worry, everything works out for good, for everyone, everywhere, all the time. That is not God's promise to us. Allow me to share the whole version of Romans 8:28. What follows the familiar portion already stated are 2 conditions for this promise of assurance and hope. Here we go. Romans 8:28. "And we know that all things work together for good, to those who love the Lord, to those who are called according to his purpose." If we don't know Jesus, then we don't know God. And if we don't know God, then we cannot claim to love God. And if we do not love God, this promise is not ours to hold on to. Also, if we know and love God, but are not accepting his call on our lives, then once again, we do not qualify to hold God to the promise of this passage. That being said, those of us chasing after God and seeking his purpose for our lives can know that our struggles will not be in vain. This message is called Transforming Struggles into Stepping Stones. What are stepping stones? And why do we use them? We usually find stepping stones where the ground is unstable or dangerous to walk through otherwise. Perhaps across a shallow brook or a very wet, marshy portion of a field. But they form a makeshift bridge. Stepping stones allow us to move forward, to progress where otherwise we might fall or get hurt. They help us go from here to there. In our lives, we are constantly faced with challenges, trouble, and struggles. If we don't learn from them, we are doomed to go through them again and again, like a recurring bad dream. But our struggles teach us very valuable lessons. Along the way, we learn life lessons that actually serve us and elevate us in time. James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4 says, "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials." Verse 3, "Knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience." Verse 4, "But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete." A great example of the lies that this world dishes out to us is that we all aim to be perfect and have it all, and yet we also, in the same breath, wish for no struggle or strain in our lives. We want to fly and look like beautiful butterflies, but we don't want to go through the metamorphosis of changing from the ugly caterpillar into the butterfly. We don't want to deal with the dark days of struggle inside the cocoon. If we saw a cocoon with a butterfly trying to bust out of it, we might have compassion on it, and we might decide to do it a favor. We reach out and peel the cocoon away so we can set it free to fly. Sounds wonderful. Except we have just condemned that poor being to be a freak among its kind. It might look beautiful, but it will never fly. It is the very process of busting out of the cocoon which develops its strength and ability to gracefully manage those massive wings. So it is with our lives as well. Most people of great success and experience, when asked what would they change about their lives if they could, most of them would say, "Nothing. I wouldn't change a thing. Every experience along the way has shaped me and taught me valuable lessons that I would not have learned otherwise." When we make costly mistakes, we pay stupid tax. It is the additional time, money, and energy expended because we did not know any better. But when we learn and skillfully avoid that same struggle in the future, it is like paying a toll at a toll house. Once we pay the toll, a new stretch of highway opens up to us, and we fly further down the road than ever before. We have access to new off-ramps, leading to new adventures, new struggles, and yes, new lessons learned. Also, as believers in Jesus, we will run counter to the thinking and the priorities of Satan and this world, which means we will ultimately struggle even more. But remember, God is with us. God is for us. And we are only here for a very short while. We can endure anything in this world when we compare it to an eternity in glorious heaven with God. Let me leave us with these words from the Apostle Peter concerning struggling for our faith. 1 Peter 4:12-14 say, Beloved, do not think it strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened to you. Verse 13, But rejoice, to the extent that you partake of Christ's sufferings, that, when his glory is revealed, you may also be glad with exceeding joy. Verse 14, If you are reproached for the name of Christ, blessed are you, for the Spirit of glory and of God rests upon you. On their part, he is blasphemed, but on your part, he is glorified. Sometimes God allows our struggles so that we gain and grow, but sometimes he allows them so he will be glorified in and through us. In either case, we can be grateful and joyful. Let's stop right there for now. And join us next week as we look at transforming failure into fuel. This is Apostle David Anderson of Red Gone White Church, where transformation